All right, everybody, finishing up the notes here for Chapter 9, starting off with Section 5 of your notes in this video and going on to the end. Evaluating apples and oranges. How do we keep track of things that are going on and make decisions based on what we've seen? Well, there are some comparison problems. Audience ratings for most cable and satellite networks, that is excluding the top 10 services, have only occasionally exceeded 1 or 2 million television households at a time, compared to the tens of millions that can happen on a broadcast television network. The combined cable audience exceeds the combined commercial broadcast audience, but many advertisers continue to buy spots one channel at a time. They're not necessarily going in and doing package buys with various networks, which there could be a pretty good strategy to. It's still one of those things that's kind of new to advertisers to think about exactly how they're going to best make use of their funds in reaching their target audiences. And honestly, it's going to be a lot more work to look at various cable networks and decide what's a great fit there compared to just dumping all of your eggs into broadcast television where you're going to reach the masses. 3 audience measurements used by cable: the audience watching at a particular program at a given time, measured by average quarter-hour ratings and shares, same way they do it with national broadcast ratings. Couple other ways they could use include the cumulative audience that watches a given program in all of its showings. So they wouldn't just count the 8 p.m. airing of a particular program on a channel. They would count all of the people that have watched different times of the same episode. So if it aired at 8 p.m., if it aired at 11 p.m., if they aired at Encore a couple days later, all of that would be counted in that cumulative audience. Another way might be to measure the cumulative audience for a channel as a whole, especially for some of the niche cable audiences where they're trying to reach a particular demographic. That can be a strong number that is appealing to advertisers as opposed to buying just a particular program. You might do perhaps a run of schedule on a particular network to reach your target audience. Measuring cable and satellite viewing, local audience shares cannot be compared directly with local over-the-air audience shares because cable franchise areas differ from Nielsen DMAs. So in other words, the Raleigh-Durham-Fayetteville DMA that Nielsen uses for television measurement for the Raleigh market, the actual geographic area, the counties that are involved with that, may not be the same geographic area that the cable system uses when it talks about the Raleigh area. So it is not an apples to apples comparison. To be measured on a national level, Nielsen requires a subscription network to be available in 3.3% of U.S. television households. It requires that that channel generates at least a 0.1 rating in its coverage area. And the goal for basic and premium programmers is to count the number of people who make a return visit to their channels on a regular basis. Thus, the viability of a channel is related to its stickiness. So, if you watch the Discovery Channel, do you watch the Discovery Channel regularly? Do you watch the USA Network regularly? Do you watch MTV regularly? Are you a overall loyal viewer? The more that you return to watch content on a particular channel, the better it is going to be for that channel in counting you as part of its strong ratings numbers. In terms of measuring video on demand, Two-way capabilities in most cable systems allow accurate tracking of buy rates, but this data is proprietary and no combined measures exist. So the way that, say, for example, Spectrum measures how it collects the number of people that use video on demand may be different from how Comcast does, for example. So there's not a real good way to compare those numbers against each other unless you know exactly what it is that you're looking for. Now, there's a good section of your textbook that covers a lot of the different cable channels in particular. If you're interested in reading that, that is in your textbook on the pages on your screen. Most of us tend to know what some of the more popular cable channels are and can make an educated guess as to the types of content that is available on those channels. But that information is there, and you may learn something if you plow your way through that. Now, let's move on to hyping subscription networks. Promoting brand identity is the key marketing goal. It's easy for some of the channels. Comedy Central tries to make people laugh. Sometimes it's not so easy, like music television. What do? Reality programming. Okay. Once upon a time, they did music. But you have to be able to associate your channel with something memorable, something useful, something that makes that channel stand out in the minds of people. Food Network, they have a lot of cooking shows and cooking competitions, something like that. TBS has gotten to be known for comedy, not necessarily in the name, but its reputation precedes itself. Tune-in promotion encourages viewers to stay with the channel for upcoming programming. Again, your loyal audience is already going to be there watching content. While they're there watching that show, promote other shows that are available. Then there's cross-channel promotion. This allows regular viewers of one cable channel to learn about the shows on another service. This is especially popular with channels that may be co-owned by the same company. Viacom owns Comedy Central, MTV, VH1, BET, and many other cable channels. So it's not unusual to see a promo for a show on one of the co-owned channels air on a sister channel. Flow titling. This places an overlay on one side of the bottom of the screen, naming the next program that is coming up. This has become popular not just with cable, but with broadcast television, where they will shrink the screen of the last act of a program, or shrink the screen of the credits being rolled and then promote the next show that is coming up, especially with the strategy of rolling from one program right into another. Premium channel campaigns include slogans, giveaways, special package rates. Try to keep people intrigued and subscribed. When trying to expand subscriptions in a local area, premium services may temporarily unscramble their signals to give cable viewers a taste of what they've been missing. So you get a free preview week of HBO or Cinemax or Showtime or whatever, to try to get people to tune in and catch certain programming, certain movies that are available, in hopes that they will like it and then order and subscribe to the service. Now, as far as various audio services on cable, this would be things like Music Match and other similar jukebox services where they play music based on various genres and formats. Many of those types of services are available at free with your basic cable package. Those will include advertisements within the music service. There are also pay formats available where you get commercial-free content. Twisting paths for the future. Subscription services feel pressure towards online distribution and video on demand while trying to maintain their paying cable and satellite customer bases. So there's that, trying to make services available to appeal to the customers that they have and keep them as happy paying customers. The key obstacle is that Hollywood and the big program producers receive much of their revenue from domestic and international syndication and are reluctant to gamble with anything that threatens that. And to add to that now, where many production houses are now rolling out their own on-demand platforms. See Disney+. The curse of pirating generates big headaches for producers. Lots of services are becoming more and more conscious of this and being able to thwart many efforts to try to pirate content, but it's still a thing and it still happens. Increasing access to potential viewers in once inaccessible countries is fueling experimentation with new types of niche programming. So you have now a much stronger worldwide distribution model where we're getting a whole lot more content, not just from the United States overseas, but from overseas to the United States as well. Nearly all newer and proposed program services fit into niche and smaller categories. Very few are seeking broad appeal. We as audiences are becoming much more individualistic and are much more willing to watch shows that not necessarily our next door neighbor or cross-town neighbor or cross-state neighbor are watching. And joint ventures, mergers, and buyouts will increasingly integrate cable program suppliers with distributors and broadcast services. And we've definitely seen the evidence of that where, for example, there is the Paramount Network that, they tend to air a lot of their own stuff. And there's other networks that are following in that same vein. So there you go. There's the notes for Chapter 9. Read the list. You know what to do. You guys have been doing it all semester long. Keep it up. And bring your questions with you when you come to the online class meeting when we discuss all these things as they relate to cable. And we'll discuss some of the differences of basic cable versus the premium services and how viable it all still is in our world today as we continue on with the broadcast programming class.